Yeah, man, it's the end of August, 2025.
Yes, sir.
You know, time is flying, man. And this month marks the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. A wild, a wild event in American history. A very sad time in American history. And I want to say outside of slavery, it's one of the biggest acts of negligence, to people of color, on American soil. Thousands of people were left stranded in the Superdome for 5-6 days, no water, no food, just to, fend for themselves, treated like animals in a country that, at the drop of a dime could send billions to another country. We can go to the moon. We can go to the center of the earth. We could do sonar and see what's going on. We can go, we can travel to the bottom of the ocean. We can clone people. We could clone animals. We can do all these things, but you can't save your own when they're in a dying need. The president at that time, Bush, just flew over the state. And that was it, until he was really called out. Then they tried to, put things into action, but those people were left for dead. I can't respect the government. I can't respect our country for that. We talk all this, patriotic shit, all this, oh, America, America. You had thousands of Americans stranded there, and where was the uproar? Where was the uproar? Outside of Kanye saying George Bush don't care for black people, where was everyone else up in arms? Where was everyone else? Where was their concern? Shout out to Sean Penn. I know he was somebody that was out there. Brad Pitt, he was somebody that was out there. There were people that took it upon themselves to go down to New Orleans and to help our Americans, right? And then after a while,
Say that one more time.
Americans, and then after a while, we're calling these Americans refugees. How the fuck is an American a refugee because they were left stranded in New Orleans and now they're trying to find other places to live and function, and you calling them a refugee? Like how dare you? It's a lot of nasty work, bro. A lot of nasty work, man. And let's not even get into the levees. Yo.
So
the levees.
I think the levees was like a prime example of the neglect, the prime example of, you know what, we know what can happen, but I'll fix it later. You know what, I don't need to rush to go fix this because these people gonna be all right. I don't need to put money in this state. I'm good over here. When it come down to the whole New Orleans situation and it come down to Katrina itself, and before we get into the levees for a second.
Yeah.
I remember in 2005 when it went down, and I didn't even understand the magnitude of this. I couldn't understand the magnitude of this. You talking about, was this 20 years ago? I'm like 19, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My life is completely different. Yo, me watching it 20 years later and me understanding the magnitude of this, it makes me like wonder about all the older people, the artists that never really spoke up, besides Kanye. Because when Kanye said that, he got the backlash for it.
Mm-hmm.
Watching that in real time right now was just like, if you don't say that, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If he didn't say that, that would have been a problem for me.
Yeah.
And what's the problem for me now is that, like, nobody really, none of the major artists really spoke up during that time or really gave the detailing of how bad it was in that Superdome, how bad it was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Now we go to the levees. Wasn't 40 years prior to that, they had the Hurricane Betsy?
Yeah.
You had Hurricane Betsy, and that's when y'all should have started with the structure of the levee.
Right.
Nobody took their time to really build the levees the right way. But I also feel like they knew the levees could break. And if you know that the levees could break, and this is just my logic and my way of thinking, just how I feel when I'm looking at everything in front of me. You wanted that to happen. You wanted it to wash out the people. You wanted to start over in New Orleans. And this is your second time doing that.
Yeah.
The first time y'all had that with Betsy, y'all changed New Orleans to, it changed.
Yeah, it changed, yeah.
But then culture came back. People was there. A lot of us were there.
Yeah.
And we ran that culture. In order to change the landscape of this, because now you want to make money as we going into new times, a new generation, a new feeling, I got to wash out the old.
Yeah.
You can't really move old people out their house. They're going to have to either die or wash away.
Yeah.
And that's what y'all did. Y'all washed away all the elders. Because what's crazy to me is why none of that water touched Uptown?
Yeah.
Why none of that water touched the French Quarters?
Yeah.
Where all the money is at.
Right.
You protected where the money was at. And now all of a sudden with the levees breaking, the water coming into the towns, and all of this damage being done, let's do reconstruction. You do reconstruction now, and all of a sudden, we got bike lanes where people's houses used to be.
Mm.
How are we cool with this infrastructure?
Yeah.
How did you actually get to put these bike lanes where these people live?
Yeah.
How did you get to do that?
Right.
The levees gave a way for the politicians, the government, and everybody to play around with people's lives to hit a reset button. That was their little reset button to me. Like, oh, levees broke, let the water wash away, let this shit die down. People are going to complain for a few months, maybe a year. They might throw 1 or 2 documentaries out there, and everybody will forget. Because I ain't had nobody talk about Katrina in a long, long time.
It's a fact. No.
Because niggas want to talk about how Katrina and how beautiful it is right now. And how, no. Because some of the people that went back and they fought for their land and they fought for their properties, they still keep the culture there. But New Orleans will never be the same of what it used to be. And that's all because you, the government, allowed them levees to break. Y'all broke those levees because the infrastructure of it was not built right. And y'all built everything right. Uptown built right. The French Quarters is built right. Everything y'all do when y'all want to get it done, y'all do it down to the T. But why when it come down to me, you giving me a half-ass job?
Yeah. Whenever it got something to do with us or in our areas, in our neighborhoods, it's always half-ass, right? It's always half-ass, but it's done on purpose because, like you said, it happened before with Betsy. And then they said that they purposely blew it up. And even this time with Katrina, there's countless amount of people saying that they heard explosions, they saw smoke. Because, again, Katrina came and went. And then they heard explosions and the water came in. This didn't happen while the storm was like in the town. The storm had already left, and then they heard these sounds, these noises, and the water came in. So you can't tell me that they didn't blow that shit up to save the more expensive parts where the money is being made.
But I don't understand that part though. I don't understand that part. You telling me you got to flood this area to save that area?
But how? Yeah, like, how if the storm already passed?
Yeah, I need somebody to explain that. And we had Mo on the show. I don't know if we got a good explanation off of that, or I don't even know if we got to ask that type of question.
Yeah, he gave a good point.
Okay,
shout out to Mo.
Mm-hmm.
We'll include some of this in here
in the clip. Yeah,
and y'all can definitely take his word for it because he was down there. So now, when it comes to Katrina, do you believe that the levees were blown up purposely?
I mean, they had to. They had to. The level of destruction that Katrina would have caused if they didn't blow those levees, the entire city would have been destroyed. If you had a choice to flood out Harlem so that Manhattan doesn't get flooded out, that's a no-brainer. You understand? You just tell people in Harlem that y'all need to leave. That's it. They had to do that, man. It's all of that rich history in New Orleans sitting right there in uptown, downtown New Orleans.
Yeah.
You got to keep that intact.
Is it justified?
I mean, honestly, I'm not a city planner. But if I was, I know that would be a consideration that I would have to make a decision on. And if I knew that I could do it safely, I would. If I knew I had the federal funding and the backing to be able to evacuate people safely, had some sort of plan for these places that were going to flood out to rebuild them afterwards and maybe build the levees back better, stronger. The pumping stations, that's always a big thing in New Orleans, is our pumping stations. Pump more money into these pumping stations, man. Make sure that we're good to go. Absolutely, let's do it and let's rebuild. But you don't just flood that shit out and say, fuck y'all niggas. Man. Some of those neighborhoods in New Orleans they're still desolate. There's nobody out there.
He felt like what's fucked up is that they didn't tell the people that. They're just under the notion that the storm came and the storm did that when they didn't. You know, I think it was a bigger thing at play. Like they were waiting for the perfect storm. I think they always wanted that area. They always wanted to redo it and to bring in
more money.
More money. I think they always wanted to do it. They just never had the chance to. Those type of storms only come around every 40, 50 years. So, you know, Katrina's coming in, Category 4, Category 5. Like, this might be our chance to break the levee and wash them out. And that's what they did.
And the timing of telling the people was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible. That is crazy to me.
Yeah. Like, they told the people, you have to leave as a mandatory evacuation. But a lot of those people down there, they don't have cars. A lot of people don't have bikes. We talking about a lot of elderly that have been there for generations who just have that house, and that house is the only thing they have to their name. Where are they supposed to go? Nobody's coming to pick them up and take them anywhere. They can't move on foot. So it was a lose-lose situation. They knew there were a lot of citizens and a lot of people there who couldn't move and were stuck. I know for a fact we do the census every 20 years.
Fact.
They know who's down there. They know the agent, right?
Remember, we worked for them.
Shout out to the census.
We worked for them. I ain't gonna hold you. We did a job. Shout out to them.
The numbers are there. They know who's down there. They know who's down there, and it was just handled poorly from the top. You know, we had that conversation about, blaming the mayor and stuff like that. And I kept saying it's even bigger than the mayor. It's bigger than the governor. It starts from the top, the president, and the energy and the tone he set. But Bush came out and was like, nah, I'm coming to save my Americans. If he was really on some American shit, came down there, saved the people, brought in the buses, planes, and all that shit, he'll probably be regarded as one of the greatest presidents of all time.
Yep, that's a fact.
And all you had to do was save a few black people.
Yo, what's crazy is, I feel like that's what changed the narrative for Giuliani when 9/11 happened.
Yes, it did.
Because right before 9/11 happened, niggas hated Giuliani.
He was not jacking
When
Giuliani.
9/11 happened, niggas was like, oh, Giuliani, that nigga. You get what I'm saying? For whatever Giuliani was doing at that time. I just remember him going out of office. He was more popular than what he was while he was in office.
Right. And Bush, with Giuliani, just showing compassion, showing that you're a human, showing that you care. That shit goes a long way. And Bush did the opposite with Katrina. Therefore, while people view him how they view him.
Respectfully, I'm always gonna still hold the mayor accountable. Like, Bush is an asshole, but the mayor, you black.
Yeah.
And you end up getting locked up.
Yeah.
He ended up getting locked up. You held first. I didn't even like the mayor's disposition in that whole Katrina situation. The sergeant came and the sergeant had way more backbone than the goddamn fucking mayor.
Right.
He came in and had more authority, had more of a plan on what to do.
Yeah.
The mayor looked like, whatever's going on. And I understand the governor at that time, they was having like their own political beef going back and forth. Yeah. But I just feel like as a black man, seeing all your peoples go through that shit, you dropped the fucking ball, and that's why your ass went to fucking jail. Yeah. The governor didn't go to jail. Bush didn't go to jail, but the black mayor went to jail.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, man, he went to jail, bro. He did like 10 years or something like that?
Yeah.
He said that but that was for allocating funds to like certain contractors. It was some under the table, some funny shit, for sure. But looking back, they all should have went to jail.
All of them. The governor, the mayor, the president. For all dropping the ball. Negligence. Y'all actually allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
And as a city planner, like, I think when Mo was talking about the whole city planning situation, right? Yeah. I have a problem with that. Y'all playing with people's lives. Because y'all sitting there saying like, yo, listen, if this doesn't happen, 30,000 people are going to die. But if I do what I do, only 5,000 people die. So I'm technically saving 25,000 people's lives. You can save the whole 30, bro, if you plan better.
Yeah.
because you knew this was coming. You knew this was coming.
Yeah.
You could have found a way to move everybody halfway out the city and have some people stay uptown. Storm leaves, everybody come back. Shit is situated. House is done, but even how they handled.
But then that defeats the purpose. If the people survive, then that means they come back and they claim their land. We don't want that. We need some people to die. We need some people to move on. We need some people to feel like they can't come back and rebuild because they don't have the right
Matter of fact, you're right.
funds. We
That's
need
how they
them
get
to be displaced. We need all of that because that's how we get the land back.
And that's how they can make bike lanes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And dog parks.
Right.
Everything else but what they need. Niggas they starting to create more dog parks than parks for kids to play in.
Yeah.
Like these
Ain't
animals.
That what they doing in Bushwick now? I think they took a park and they're converting the park to a dog park.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah.
So where are these kids going to play?
Yeah.
So when these kids got nowhere to play and now they're in the streets, just wandering off, getting into any mischievous thing, you see why. Because there's nowhere for them to actually have an outlet to play and do things. Because y'all city planners care more about the aesthetic of the city than actually the living environment and making people live in unison and in harmony and peace and love and fucking cleanliness.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But shout out to everybody that loved and lost somebody in New Orleans and the whole Katrina situation. It was probably, I ain't gonna lie to you, watching everything recently, I have a whole different view on it. Emotionally, it affects me because I couldn't fathom me having these type of feelings 20 years ago. But to see the way these people suffered, I can't imagine like the shit, the piss, and just the living environment they had to go through in that Superdome with no water, with nothing. Like, I couldn't even imagine living like that. I wouldn't even want that for my kids. You got babies out there. You got people floating in the water. And what really gets to me out of this whole situation too is you had some houses that were built a certain way to where it's just like they were good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they basement must have been flooded out, but they was on the third floor, the second floor, like those apartments. And you still sent the government in to remove these people from their homes.
No.
They didn't need to be removed from their homes at all.
No.
All they needed probably was like, yo, listen, when the water flush out, then they could probably start the repairing. But staying in their homes was better than going down to that Superdome.
Yeah. But then, again, if they stay in their house, they survive.
Facts.
That's not what they want. That's not what they wanted. And it's disappointing, man. But again, it's just another example of the country that we live in. Because best believe, if those were 30,000 white people, they probably would have never made it to the Superdome. They probably would have been fucking airlifted to fucking Oklahoma or airlifted to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been handled a lot different. They wouldn't have stayed there for 6 days. Maybe one, if that, maybe a night just to let the storm pass. But as soon as that shit cleared up, they were going to be out of there. They were going to be out of there. And nobody could tell me different. Nobody could tell me different about that shit. Like,
so we could regurgitate what Kanye said. Because I ain't going to lie to you. He said it right. Bush don't care about black people.
Nope.